Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today, my guest is here to promote the Seattle World Tour that he is co-directing. He's also in two bands, All Star Opera and Small Paul.
It's all good.
Small Tall.
Tall Paul, Small Paul.
Yes.
Small Tall.
And also he's a producer and engineer. He honestly is a jack of all trades. I feel like, do people say that in a good way or no?
Well, that's...
Because I know the end of it is like a master of none. So I feel like that's not really...
It is a master of none. And I think over time, I've had to really think about that and like what I want to do with my life.
Right.
And it kind of like, you know, when you go to someone's Instagram profile and they'll be like writer, author, musician, they'll have like 9 occupations listed in their bio. And it's like, all right, so what do you really do?
Right.
And I think in my, I just hit my early 30s here.
This is Seth, by the way, Seth McDonald.
Hey, as I've been getting older and like doing this longer, I've realized I really have to define what it is exactly I want to do. And I think in my 20s, mid 20s, like spiritually, I was like, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this, and like appreciate you shouting out the things I'm doing, but like at this point,
and you work with Claudine too.
I work with Claudine, amazing artist.
Yes.
At this point, if you were just to come up on the street and ask me what I do, I'm just going to tell you I'm a producer and a musician.
Okay. And
everything else is like, I'm doing that. But like, if I'm really trying to, if I'm in an elevator and I have a chance to talk to someone that I just met, it's producer, musician, because that's what I want to be doing long term. Making music, playing music.
Fair enough. That's good. I like that. I like that.
But you have to define what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do other things, but that doesn't mean that that's who you are.
But when do you know when it's like faking it till you make it sometimes? You know, like I want to say I'm a DJ.
You are.
I DJ for
I've
sure.
I've seen you DJ.
Yes.
Multiple
but like,
times.
When do you know for sure like you can say you're or whatever? Like is it like a certain like like monetary place you have to be for you to be like I'm a DJ or I'm a author, or I guess.
Well, I think to be an author, you should write a book.
Yeah, that's
if you're writing a book but you haven't wrote it yet, like haven't completed it, I don't know if you're an author yet, but you're on your way to being an author. Okay. I think as far as like your question though, first off, you are a DJ.
Okay, there we go.
I would definitely identify you as being a DJ.
Nice.
And I also think there has to be some sort of threshold moment where you're like, oh yeah, I'm really doing this.
Yeah.
Like I didn't call myself a producer until like I made like 101 beats more than I can count, you know?
Yeah. I'm
not calling myself a musician in my life until like I'm playing on stage and really feeling comfortable with my instrument.
Got it.
You can use until you get to that point, there's the word you can put in front of whatever you want to be. Aspiring.
Okay.
Aspiring DJ,
like
aspiring musician. But you're a DJ. I've seen you rock crowds.
There we go.
Maybe for a DJ, it's like the moment you see people moving on a transition you did, or like a set you put together, and you're like, I did that.
Yeah. I've definitely faked it till I've made it a few times though. Like,
I think we all did.
Yes, fair enough. When I first started my podcast, I went by DJ Blake, and I was never a DJ or anything, but I liked radio so much, and I heard like people and radio hosts call themselves DJ whatever, and they weren't even DJs really, you know. So I went by DJ Blake, but I feel like that was so corny. So now I just go by Blake.
It was very true to you, though.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm corny. Oh, kind of.
No.
Kind of, though.
No, DJ Blake is very true to you because that's your first name.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want that to get misconstrued.
But now I don't even want to go by, like, if I am, like, on a set or something, I don't want to go by DJ NAST. I just want to go by, like, NAST or something.
That's cool, too.
But I feel like, I don't know. I guess DJ is still a relevant title for some things. Yeah. I guess.
I think before we started this, we were talking about like radio and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if you were on radio, like a Kiss 106.1, Moving 92.5, you'd probably want to be DJ NAST.
Yeah.
For people to like really sink that into like what you're doing, because you'd probably be spinning and hosting. But I also think you've done something really cool with the NAST podcast, and you could just be NAST.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate
it's all encompassing.
That. Yeah. So let's talk about this Seattle World Tour.
Yeah.
I know like a few years ago, I was just going through stuff and trying to figure out what was a good guess and what's not a good guess and all this stuff. But I remember you reached out in like 2020 or 2019, like during COVID, to do a NAST podcast.
I probably did. It might have been about the Rain City Relief Project.
Yes.
But
things are like, sometimes it's like a full circle moment where like sometimes it like something has to develop of like seeing someone enough or whatever. But now we're here.
Yeah.
So
I think the first time we crossed paths was actually when I was playing with Claudine at Cafe Umbria.
Yes.
And I watched the...
See, you remember me, but Claudine...
I watched the Claudine interview.
Yes.
And she's like, but, you know, Claudine is the artist in that moment, and we're just her band is just there to support her. And she was like trying to figure out a lot of technical stuff.
Yes.
And like the band, we're just like, we have our instruments ready, and it wasn't on Claudine, it was on the space of like getting some stuff set up. So I could understand how she didn't remember, but I remember you.
There we go.
You were DJing for Nobi.
Yes.
And
I felt gaslit for a sec. I was like, was I even there?
No, you were there. Yeah. And then we've crossed paths a couple times.
Yes.
I saw you at a Christmas party. And,
yes. I was out of it.
Yeah.
That was fun though.
Yeah. Did you get a tattoo?
Yeah. Yes.
You did?
Let me, there's...
Nice. The line was too long, but I saw you really holding down your spot.
Yes, fuck yeah, man.
And I looked at my partner and I was like, I don't want to spend the whole night.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Maybe to have a chance. And then I saw you at the...
That was funny as
just
fuck.
the homegrown.
Yes, me and Carter have that thing that we're growing. You know?
And so I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think it is kind of a natural process of just crossing paths, getting to know each other and understanding what people are doing.
Yeah. I've learned that with persistence as well, though. Like sometimes you can still, there is like a wrong way about being persistent, in my opinion, and there's a right way.
If I would have emailed you every week for the last 2 years, that might have been a little too
Some people
persistent.
have done that. I'm like, fuck, man, you might be cool, but like,
maybe you're cool.
Yeah. Like I've done that too, though, where I feel like, especially when I was younger, like definitely like made people not want to work with me by being too persistent. So sometimes like you reach out and then time goes by and maybe you reach out again, or maybe you guys just cross paths, especially in Seattle. You know, it's a very small city.
We're going to cross, like in Seattle, we're going to cross paths at one point or another.
Yeah.
I think with the follow-up, though, I got to say, I've learned over time to not really follow up on an email unless you have an update or a development.
Right.
If you're just asking for the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But if you have an update or development that
good point,
brings the picture together more, makes it a little more enticing. All right.
Damn. So you're making some good points here. So Rain City Relief is different than Seattle.
Yeah.
World
So
Tour.
The Seattle World Tour it's the Seattle World Tour Foundation. My band All Star Opera and Respect My Region. This Northwest.
Shout out Mitch.
Mitch. Yes, that's the other co-director with me.
Cool.
Mitch and Respect My Region, Joey and Taylor Hart, plus All Star Opera, my band. We started the Seattle World Tour as this week-long concert series in 2018. Almost like guinea pig, let's try it out, guinea pig idea. Week-long concert series across town, 5 different venues, 5 different lineups, raising money for a good cause.
Yeah.
We did that 2018, 2019. Year 1 to year 2, the year 2 growth was like literally tenfold. Like we went from raising $750 in the first year for Mary's Place to the second year we raised $10,000.
Oh, shit.
And we sold out the last 3 nights of the second year at like bigger venues. And so we were like, oh, there's legs to this. There's something here happening. People are really enjoying this, coming out to 5 different venues. Not everyone goes to all the shows, but like it gives people a chance to engage where they want. And we were getting set to announce the 3rd Seattle World Tour in March of 2020, literally the week COVID happened.
Yeah, man. Fuck.
And so we put that on pause, but we were just coming off the second World Tour in 2019, and like we didn't want to slow down. And so what ended up happening was we formed the Seattle World Tour Foundation as an official nonprofit. And we just got creative. Like, what can we do besides for a concert series? And so the first thing we did was this like 12 episode digital campaign that was also a food drive for Rainier Valley Food Bank. And we realized like during the height of COVID that cannabis shops were still open.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of traffic going there. So we basically set up food drive collector bins at a bunch of cannabis shops around town because we realized traffic was still going through there. And we ended up raising $5,000 for Rainier Valley Food Bank. Plus we raised something like 1,500 pounds of food over like 6 or 7 weeks and put out a bunch of episodes of Seattle artists, and we filmed that at Ruby Room Studios in Soto, and that was really cool. And then from there,
that was after they moved or before? That's
at their new spot.
Got it.
And from there, we got in contact with one of the cannabis shops, The Reef, on Capitol Hill in Georgetown, and they approached us about doing this project called Rain City Relief. It wasn't called Rain City Relief at the time, but they were like, we want to make a vinyl record. And
wow.
So Rain City Relief was just another campaign that we did under the Seattle World Tour Foundation umbrella, just like amidst COVID and not being able to do the concert series. It's like, how can we continue to make an impact? And so Rain City Relief was a project between the Seattle World Tour and The Reef in 2022 that just was a product of not being able to really do shows in the way that we wanted to.
Were they like one of the first? Did you work with them when you first did the cannabis drop-off things? Or
Yeah. So that's how we got in contact with them. They're like, we like what you're doing here. Like, how can we work together beyond this? And what was cool about Rain City Relief was The Reef really invested in like the Seattle music community more than I've seen most businesses do. Obviously there's corporate businesses, but for like a smaller company, relatively smaller company, to like really invest in the Seattle music scene, like they helped us raise $40,000 for like Washington State Musician Relief. And it helped us, the Seattle World Tour Foundation, launch a permanent musician relief fund for Washington State musicians.
That's fucking awesome.
And so shout out to The Reef. And yeah.
So as an artist, how do you get businesses to like want to support you and your community though?
I think in anything, not just sponsorship and business, as an artist, you have to think about value and like, how do we like reciprocate the value with each other? Like, how do I make this a help me help you situation? Like one for one, not like I'm going to take a bunch from you and you'll get a little. Like, how can we have an equal exchange? And so figuring out what your value is, really laying that out. You have to shoot a lot of shots, a lot of cold call emails of like, hey, this is what we're doing. I do think putting together like a sponsorship deck, you know, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of just like how to really go about this. Putting together a sponsorship deck that really lays out neatly from most important to least important, what you're doing, why you're doing it. The why is so important.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't care what you do, they care why you do it. And laying that out, and also just really defining what you need to make this happen. Like, don't just throw out a number just because you would like to have $10,000. You need to really break down where that $10,000 is going to. And then you also have to illustrate how you're going to lift them up. Like, is it drawing traffic to their business, whether it's in real life or online? Is it spreading brand awareness because your profile has thousands of followers and you can really grow that traffic for them in that way, the awareness. But also it's not easy. Like, I've had a lot of people like see what the Seattle World Tour has been able to do with sponsorship, and then ask me like, hey, can like you help me with sponsorship? Like I'll give you a little cut. And like, I always say no, not because I don't want to help them, but it's so draining to send out 100 to 200 emails and get like 10 of those to land, and those 10 were like a email chain of 100 emails. Like, I don't want to do that. What was your why when you first started working for the Seattle World Tour stuff? You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about that yesterday. We started out the Seattle World Tour concert series as wanting to create a new platform for up and coming Seattle musicians, because I think around 2018 we felt like there was just these big music festivals that felt really hard to reach. And so we wanted to create a platform that was a bit more grassroots. And from there, like, we wanted to make an impact in our community through the guise of like promoting Seattle music. Like, how can we make an impact for those experiencing crisis or those in need, but do it while promoting Seattle music? So every single campaign we've ever done for the Seattle World Tour, whether it's been the stuff during COVID that wasn't the concert series or the concert series, is there to make an impact for those in need, but it's also like let's highlight Seattle music.
Right.
And yeah, it's been a wild 5 years. I don't know if I would have thought 5 years ago we would be doing a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And when I look at all these bigger nonprofits, and it kind of comes back to what you're talking about of like fake it till you make it at the beginning. When it comes to nonprofit world, I feel a little like fake it till you make it because we're so new in the nonprofit world, and we're figuring out like how different people move and stuff. And like, definitely not fake it till you make it right now, but like just really like we're not afraid to say we're new as a nonprofit, and we're figuring out how we can make a long lasting impact.
What can a nonprofit do?
A nonprofit, I would actually say the biggest thing that's helped from becoming a nonprofit is there was companies we would approach prior to being a nonprofit about sponsoring us, and they would ask, hey, can this be a tax write-off? And we didn't have that ability when we were just not officially a formed entity. And now that we're an official 501c3, a company can donate $1,000, $2,000 and just have it be a tax write-off. And I'm not an accountant or a tax expert, but that helps them long term with their end of the year taxes. And so it's definitely helped us raise more money. And, you know, just even with sponsorship, I think a lot of people don't end up getting sponsorship because they're trying to profit themselves. I think it's almost like reverse psychology. The Seattle World Tour and the concert series and things we're doing have been able to get sponsorship because we're literally putting all the money we get back into the cause to make an impact. And then it just kind of like lifts everyone up involved. Like we're all making an impact together here. Whereas I think it's a lot harder, like as someone who's in multiple bands, like it would be 100 times harder for me to get a business to just sponsor my band, no matter where we're at, just because like we need to like survive. I mean, you would hope that like more businesses would do that, but the reality of where we're at is not a lot of people are sponsoring you just to like pay your rent.
Right. Would it be easier to sponsor a kid in Africa?
It would. It would. But I mean, that's almost a metaphor though for like just making an impact. It would be easier to get someone to sponsor, but I understand what you're saying, and you are correct.
So is it easier to like get people to invest in a Mary's Place than like a whole music community? Or what was your experience with that?
Well, all love to Mary's Place. I feel like this is going to be like the hot take that gets flashed up. I've watched enough NAST podcasts. I know how this goes down. I love it. We did Mary's Place in 2018, 2019, and they're this amazing organization here that is helping women in need and mothers in need of shelter, clothing, all that. And at the same time, after year 2, that like they invited us to this luncheon, and you know we're coming off the heels of like raising $10,000, and we're just young. We're like, yes, we did that. And then we go to this luncheon, and in like 1 hour, they raised like $60,000. And it took us like a full week-long campaign that we planned out for months to raise $10,000. And we saw that, and we're like, oh, y'all are good. Amazon just donated that in an hour. And then the next week, we see like a Seahawks player donates $33,000. And it's like, oh, y'all like really love what y'all are doing. But I think the community got to you at large, corporate and otherwise, celebrities, all that. And so as time went on, we started like kind of recalibrating of like, how can we find people in need that aren't getting as much support? And so it started with like the Rainier Valley Food Bank, a bit more like localized, more in need versus, and then it went from like Rainier Valley Food Bank, which we have a food drive for the Rainier Valley Food Bank for this upcoming Seattle World Tour. Nice. That's still a component. But then as COVID was going on, we're seeing all these venues get saved or like working towards getting saved. But then as musicians, artists, I'm looking around at my friends and otherwise, and we're seeing artists kind of at the bottom of the ladder, not getting as much help. And we live in a really expensive city, kind of a really expensive state overall. And it kind of came full circle where like when we started the Seattle World Tour, we were helping those like the houseless community, we were helping the food banks, and we'll still continue to make impact for those communities. But it kind of came full circle where we realized, oh, musicians are like really in need.
Yeah.
Not every musician. There's always going to be musicians with a silver spoon, and good for them. But like there are a lot of musicians who are really working hard, trying to make what they're doing their thing, and they need help. And so that's where we really shifted our focus long term. And it comes kind of like, it's almost this all-encompassing thing where I said, like, I used to do all these things, like, but I really had to figure out like what exactly I wanted to do long term and define that. I think the Seattle World Tour, in our own way, like we had to figure out what is our mission long term. And I think helping musicians is really our focus long term. And there will still be other people we help for sure, but yeah, with the Musician Relief Fund, we hope to be able to grow that. So like, like last year we gave out $2,500 grants, like gave out $10,000, and that was really great. But I hope long term that we could have like $100,000 fund and give out like $5,000 grants, $10,000 grants. And there's like Sonic Guild, it used to be Black Fret, like they've started doing that, but I'd love to see more of that.
So it probably takes like companies to focus on a program versus a community when it comes to art.
A little bit. Yeah, and I wouldn't even call our Washington Musician Relief Fund a program yet. Like it's, this is going to be our second year giving out grants after the Seattle World Tour. But if it could become a program, I bet it would be easier to support. You have my brain thinking right now of how do you how do you make it, how do you define it more as a program? And I think that takes like, I don't know, like what's a program to you? Like,
damn, I guess more involvement, community involvement, I guess.
Yeah.
But then that's, I guess, a program and community go hand in hand, but it's easier. You're not going to just give money to a community without there being a program in the first place, I guess.
For me, I think of a program as like educational workshops, whether it's digital or in real life, to kind of tie in the bigger picture of wanting to support artists. So like, you truly in this moment, my brain's thinking about like, okay, we have the Washington Musician Relief Fund, but how do you long-term provide more support for musicians than just monetary, like grants, like educational stuff?
That's what I saw with Ground Zero. Do you know Ground Zero Radio?
I grew up going to Ground Zero in Bellevue, but I do know GZ Radio as well.
Yeah. So like they started, in the Bellevue Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah. Did you ever go to a show at Ground Zero?
No. Oh. I met them in 2019.
Okay.
Right. And supposedly, I just heard recently there was some, actually, I don't know if I should say that or not. I want to say, it doesn't really matter. I'm just shooting off the hip. But supposedly I heard something where like Bellevue Boys and Girls Club is not associated with King County Boys and Girls Club or other Boys and Girls Club because there was some like weird shit that happened.
Oh.
But that's, and now there's not even a Boys and Girls Club in Bellevue now, I don't think. Or is there? I don't know if there is. I heard some weird shit the other day about it. But anyways, I'm
not hip to the Boys and Girls Club gossip. I'm not on that timeline.
But I'm so bad. He's like one of my close friends, and I always say his name right. That's so bad that I don't. Do you know Masao? But it's not Masao.
Is it Masao?
You might say it's Masao. I've been calling him Masao for years, but it's Masao.
Is it?
I think.
I've met him multiple times. One of the nicest people I've ever met.
I love that guy.
And he's doing such good work. I used to work at this during the pandemic. I was working at Teen Tix. Do you know Teen Tix?
Like a tick?
No, TIX.
Okay.
Teen Tix is this really cool organization for 13 to 19-year-olds that has a relationship with like over 70 arts and cultures institutions here in Seattle. Yeah. And basically, if you become a Teen Tix member for this like low price, like actually, no, it's free to be a Teen Tix member, I think. It's been a while. I haven't worked at a job in a while. But you get reduced price tickets to like Seattle Art Museum. You can go to for $5. Like Benaroya Hall. Like all these different events happening around Seattle every week. 13 to 19-year-olds get access to that. And they have like a journalism program and a leadership program. And we worked with Ground Zero Radio. So that's how I met this out.
Got it.
Yeah.
So they started out in the Boys and Girls Club, which... whatever happened to that Boys and Girls Club, but besides anything bad, that was not because of GZ Radio. But
There's going to be another podcast, The Truth About Seattle Boys and Girls Clubs.
But anyways, like I saw Masao when he was first in. I really like Masao better than, but I guess it's Masao. But Masao, whatever. I love you, dog. But like they started in the Boys and Girls Club, and then they got connected with the Vera Project, and now they're like a full program now, where like they get like press passes to like all these different like Capitol Hill Block Party and all this stuff, and they're like a full on radio program now. Yeah. But it's kind of cool to see like that's legit like a program.
Well, they broadcast out of the Vera Project now.
They have like a full on like residency, or I don't even know if residency might not even be the right word. I think
they're almost like embedded.
Yeah, like, they're like embedded into the.
I think the Vera Project is far and away my favorite nonprofit in Seattle.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out with music, I took like sound engineering classes.
Oh wow.
For like $25, or maybe it was free. They also do like screen printing workshops and stuff, and I don't know, the Vera Project was really like fundamental in my growth when I was just starting out in music.
Heck yeah.
And I love what they're doing.
So back to the Mary's Place thing, by the way.
Yeah.
So you book for Soul.
I do book for Soul, yeah.
Okay, so also I've been having a debate with people whether it's Soul or Saul.
You know, we were on tour in 2021. I'm going to spill the tea. And I was like, mind you, like, quick side note. I didn't grow up with Saul, but I grew up in the same neighborhood as Saul. Like when I was in
neighborhood was that?
Shoreline, Lake Forest Park. I don't know how long he lived there, but all I know is when I was in 4th grade, Saul was in 6th grade. And I remember seeing him run for like ASB president or whatever. And I heard Saul or whatever. So I've always called him Saul. He ended up going to a different high school, but fast forward years later, we connect not because of like where we grew up, just through music. And we're on tour in 2021, and I was like, I heard a fan call him Soul.
Yeah.
And he didn't correct him or anything. He's like, and I was like, I gotta ask, dude. I've been calling you Saul for like the entire time I've known you. Like, is it Saul or Soul? And he's like, it's whatever you want it to be.
Fuck. Okay.
And I was like. But then I keep calling him Saul, and I hear people close to him call him Saul. But you know, the Spanish word for son is
he's Spanish?
Soul. No, he's not. But the Spanish word for son is soul.
Okay.
The same spelling. So
like solstice.
Precisely.
Got it.
Precisely. But you know, I call him Saul. But as he told me, and I quote, "It's whatever you want it to be."
I'm dead. But basically, so when was this? This was last year?
Yep.
Sometime last year.
He did a Mary's Place event.
Dude, that was... I don't want to... How do I... I just feel like I haven't met anyone else that knows about that event because it was like a very like
I didn't go
fundraisery type thing.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So like, I can't... You're the first person I could probably... So me and my friend Ian went.
Yeah.
And it was very... No offense to Mary's Place.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. But it was very like...
By the way, I'm not associated with Mary's Place before he says this.
Yeah, it was very like Illuminati type weird. Like it was just a bunch of like super like rich people. You know what I mean?
It's a fundraiser.
Yeah.
That's what scares me about getting into the nonprofit world is like having to mingle with.
They can be fun sometimes, I feel like, but that one was weird in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like me and my friend Ian didn't know that it was like a real like fundraiser thingy.
Yeah.
So we came in.
Those things are not my thing.
We came in with like hoodies and like ripped jeans.
Sick. I love it. So the Seattle World Tour is a week-long fundraiser, but it's a space where people can come in ripped jeans and hoodies and maybe steps outside and have a smoke and no one's gonna look at them funny. And
it was and we were like the only ones who didn't pay for tickets, you know, because we were like on the guest list.
Fire.
And it was just weird how everyone was like, it was the crowd was weird as fuck.
It was hoity-toity, like stiff.
Yeah. And basically Ben Gibbard was there without the band.
I remember that.
And it was just him, like as a solo artist on the acoustic, right?
Yeah.
And
I like how you say acoustic.
What is it?
It's a little like
acoustic.
No, well, I say acoustic, but you said you really pronounced the U.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, acoustic. Yes,
I love that. That's
so
cool. I might steal that.
People, you know, he was doing his thing, and like everyone was like fucking talking, and I was like, how often are you gonna see Ben Gibbard do like a solo performance?
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Everyone was talking, no one was paying attention, and then Saul comes on,
Whatever
and
you
it was like it was literally like a no offense to these people either, and like these like the most very like properish people I've ever seen, hoity-toity. Yes, and
that's
like
a
he comes
synonym for white.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crap. I'm just not gonna say it. But anyways.
He was gonna say cracker.
Anyways, he comes on stage, right?
Yeah.
And like a kindergarten class, like everyone goes to the front, and like I don't know if many of these people knew who he was or not,
or had ever listened to hip hop.
And exactly. And like
Since,
he's
like,
got these
high school.
Yes. And he's got all these people like waving their hands. And it was like a kindergarten class type.
Nice.
And no one was paying attention to Ben Gibbard, and like these people were like losing their minds. Like also
Saul got the juice.
Yeah, and like these people were like they started like making out with each other. Like all the entire crowd was like, they turned into like fucking animals, and like they were all like, and they were trying to dance and shit. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like,
that's crazy.
That's wild.
But Ben Gibbard's a legend, but maybe it's just kind of like anyone playing acoustic guitar is not going to get people doing this and making out.
Yeah.
Whereas hip hop and the energy of hip hop.
And there are definitely people like, I don't like hip hop, but I like this. There's a ton of people like that.
Dude, that feels like a dog whistle for being racist.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my entire life for a performance. So I'll never forget that. And that was like a few months. That was like, I guess. It
was like last November or something like that. Yeah.
So that's my experience with that. So let's
I don't know, real quick. Yeah. I don't know if I don't think that's just Mary's Place. I think that's a lot of nonprofits.
Got it. Okay.
Especially ones that are like inviting the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world. Those are just references that are in our neighborhood, but that could be anywhere in the world of like corporations. Yeah, I feel like we're doing the new age fundraiser, a fundraiser that's supposed to be fun, cool, chill, like not stiff. Mm-hmm. Show up, come as you are, like
Nirvana.
Yeah, enjoy the vibes. But yeah, that's a funny story.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't really been able to tell people that because no one's like, "What do you fucking mean?"
Yeah.
That's great.
I understand exactly what you're talking about.
So let's break down All Star Opera. Are you the? I don't know. I kind of know All Star Opera. But are you the face of All Star Opera or no? Or like, how does any of that work? Or
it's hard being in a 7-person band, but so there's 2 MCs. There's Oz, Flo Carter. Those are like some of my best friends. But there's the 2 MCs. There's myself, who's like producing a lot of it. But like really, like all of us are the face.
Got it.
But at the core of it, it really is Oz, Flo Carter, and myself, like pushing it forward. But we really are all the face because like a large majority of the music is getting written together, and COVID kind of made it so like we're not necessarily in the same room writing it together, but it's like, okay, I played this keys part and I laid a little like reference track of drums, like you add your stuff around it, just the drummer, our drummer Tylee, swap out the drums, add your own flair to it. And so I wouldn't. I'm not the face of it. Right. We all are representing that.
But did you 2014, 2015, or am I off by that?
So it started. I mean, Oz and Flo Carter have been like rapping under like iterations, but different iterations. But I met Oz and Flo Carter. And they were under the name All Star Opera, and the producer, they were his other band Tangerine was taking off, and so he decided to focus on that. And I was like everyone else. I was engineering at the studio at the time. This is when I was like engineering full time. Were like older than me, and this was like my first clients who were like my age, and I realized we had a lot in common, and one thing led to another, and I started DJing for them. And then but when I say DJing, like that comes to like, that was probably the most like true fake it till you make it moment, because like I wasn't scratching, I was just pressing play and doing some dubs,
hands
like,
up,
that type of stuff. But at the same time, I was like really growing my piano skills, my musicianship, my producing skills. And I was like, man, I want to do more. So it started by like I graduated from just like DJing to like I was DJing and playing keys and at the same time. And then, I'd been we'd been playing some shows around town for like a year and a half, and we were like, why don't we try like incorporating some live instruments since I'm playing keys and stuff. And so they had a buddy, Ty Lee, who they went to high school with, who just happened to be like drumming all the time and like didn't have a band. So he started coming over, and then my roommate, Will, played guitar, and I was like, well, why don't you play with us? And then we were like, at this point, like, we just need a bass player and we're good to go. And so we found a bass player, and from there, like, we were like, oh, we have a band right now. Damn. And so we went from doing like the DJ 2MC, like just playing your beats, to like, let's really recalibrate, refocus, and start making music as a band. And then one of the MCs in the group, Flo Carter, didn't tell us until like we became a band, but he played trumpet all through high school.
Damn.
And we were like, where have you been, dude?
Yeah.
You could have been doing this for a while. And so we find out he plays trumpet. So now he plays trumpet with us. And then over time we figure out he can sing too on top of rap. And it's like, oh, well, like, we're good to go. And but even like we're good to go, like we officially became like a band, like a real band, in 2016. And from there it's just been a growing process. And I think COVID like really helped us like define where we're going, and we're now a 7-person band.
That's wild.
And
traveling must be a bitch a little bit though.
We have a van.
Okay.
We have a band van. That helps a lot. But
and how do you guys like connect with Martial Law Band? Or are you guys competition? How does that work?
Well, we, it's a great segue to, I engineered Marshall's first 2 projects as a solo artist. Marshall Hugh. And at the time he was going by like Marshall Mung. And
Welcome to Mill Creek or something.
So I co-produced that project.
Hell yeah.
And I was hanging around Marshall a lot around that time. And he and I both played basketball and stuff in high school, and he was a lot better than me, but we would like hoop and stuff outside of the music stuff, and he just knew a bunch of random musicians. And so like by no means am I saying that Marshall saw All Star Opera and was like, I'm going to do that, but I definitely think just being in like the same sphere, like Marshall was hanging around us, like he found his own thing his own way, because like what Martial Law Band does is worlds away from what All Star Opera does. It's a whole different sound, whole different thing. But yeah, I think it's just like,
Do you guys ever get compared though? Because like you guys are like hip hop bands. Because I feel like that's not that popular in Seattle to do. Or
I don't think we ever get compared, but we've definitely been asked to play the same bills together like often. But yeah, there isn't. You'll see a lot of people do the hip hop band thing where like they'll have musicians playing over like the beats, and that's sick. Like there's some people that do that really well, like Jarv D comes to mind. I don't know if you've seen him with a live band. His band is killer. And there's other people too, but that's just someone who comes to mind. But I think with All Star Opera and Martial Law Band, like at least from what I remember from Martial Law Band, is that we're really writing the music together as a band. It's not just like, oh, this producer on the East Coast sent us this beat, let's play over it. It's like, no, we all are musicians. Most of us are producers. Let's build this up together. And, I managed Martial Law Band from 2017 to 2019. Like, and it was just kind of like, okay, I'm in this hip hop band world. I can help y'all grow. And at the same time, you know Marshall well.
Can't cheat the hymns.
Marshall is a go-getter, and I think over time just like realized he can really push it forward himself, and like he has a team helping him, but also like he's fully capable of like managing that himself. He's a really on top of it individual and dedicated, and
So what's it like? It seems like you've helped like push people in certain directions, whether it's booking or managing, or producing or whatever. So what's the differences between doing that and like growing your own like personality and music? Like, is it easier to do one thing or the other, or do they kind of feed into each other?
I think they definitely feed into each other, but for a long time, it was almost like path of least resistance to be behind the scenes and help other people while still doing like bands and like stuff. But really this last year and a half, I've had to realize like, okay, time is finite. We only have so much time on this earth. I really need to take control of what I want to do. And so what that has looked like is like I've had to start cutting out a lot of the business stuff. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, you know. And so a lot of the business support stuff that I've been doing for artists over time, like I was consulting during the pandemic a lot. I've stopped consulting like full stop at this point. And it's not because I don't want to help people. It's just like I realize I got to help myself.
Yeah.
And to come back to like it's easier to like be behind the scenes and help push other people forward. I think it's a lot harder to grow your own personality and like your own platform, but that's what I'm focused on doing. And you know, playing in bands though, like I don't necessarily have to just grow my own self. It's like I'm focused on growing our platform.
Right.
But even being a producer, I'm really like I see people putting out cool production videos and stuff, and it's like you know, those are things that I'm working towards of like I'm making all these beats all the time. I just need to get a camera like this and put it up in my room and show people what I'm doing.
Like Sendai Mike does dope stuff.
Sendai Mike is that dude. Yeah. I love Sendai Mike. He and I first met when I was going to engineering school. And at the time, he was dating someone I went to high school with. And I put on Twitter, this is when I had like 66 followers on Twitter. Twitter was still like new. And if you have 66 followers now, it's all good. Everyone starts somewhere. I just put out like I'm going to this conference at Mopop for it's like this engineer Young Guru is speaking. Ooh. Young Guru's done like Rock Nation, Jay-Z, all that. And this is 2012 and I'm not even working in a studio yet. And his partner at the time who I went to high school with was like, "Can my boyfriend come?" And I'd never met this dude. And I was like, "Sure." I said I had an extra ticket on the tweet. And so he comes and we sit in this like 4-hour seminar. And that was the first time I met Sendai Mike like 11 years ago.
Damn.
This is before I was in a band, before I was like really producing, and I was just going to school for engineering. You know, a decade later, he still is like a solid dude, like a friend that like, yeah, I'm so proud of that guy because
that's why I had no idea you guys even knew each other. I was just bringing him up because he's on the show and he does those videos.
No, I really do know Sendai Mike. We've played shows together between Sendai Air and All Star Opera. A lot of synergy there over time.
Because they just dropped a new album too.
Yeah,
a few months ago at this point.
But I love what Sendai Mike does, both as the engineer and all those videos. I actually think he's the biggest inspiration for me right now as far as like putting yourself out there, like growing your own personal platform. And I think right now, like between Small Paul and All Star Opera, we're like Small Paul's about to put out an album in July and All Star Opera is like wrapping up an album. I've been so engulfed in like pushing that through to the finish line. But once those albums come out, like I think the next natural step is to like focus on that production.
Heck yeah.
Musician.
Have you seen that YouTube video with Hit Boy and Alchemist where I think it came out like a month ago?
Yeah, and they're like they do 2 different beats and they rap over it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
that
beautiful.
Shit was so cool.
So beautiful.
So what's Small Paul's is you're also in that are you the front man of that?
No.
Oh, no,
that's all.
Neither?
No,
okay.
No. Yeah, the 2 bands I play in, there's no front person. That's why I like playing with Claudine because playing with Claudine, that is her thing.
Yeah.
And we're just there to support it.
For sure.
Small Paul is a rock band with my friends Chris King, Malcolm Roberts, and my friend Kevin Murphy. And, you know, Chris King and Malcolm Roberts, they have this band, Chris King and the Gutter Balls.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Murphy has this long-time successful band, the Moondoggies. And they were all living together when COVID hit. And I was managing Chris King and the Gutter Balls.
Damn, you managed a life.
Over time.
You know everyone, it seems like. It's funny.
Over time, I feel like, I don't know if you'll meet too many people that know like so many different pockets of the Seattle music scene. They may not be my best friend, but it's like I've probably done something with them.
That's what I try to do too.
I see you doing that. I love that. And at the beginning of COVID, managing Chris King and the Gutter Balls, they were like coming off like an album. They just did a live at KXP thing. And we thought COVID was going to be like a month-long thing. Like, all right, like let's still meet up. Like, y'all are going to be my pod mates, because y'all are really, you have something going on here. And so I was going to their house, and my wife, she's a nurse, and so I didn't have a job at the time because of COVID. Like, I got fired
for sure.
because my job, I was booking shows for a record label in New York, and there was no shows to book, so they fired me naturally. And my wife still had a job though, working at a hospital, and so I had a lot of extra free time. My wife's working till 7, and so I'd go over to their house. We'd do like a business work for a couple hours, and then I'd be like, well, what are you guys doing now? I got nothing to do. And what was crazy was I'd been managing them since like the fall of 2018, like a year and a half, and we'd never played music together. Like, they knew I played music. Obviously, I knew they played music, and they're supporting their thing. And one day I was like, you guys want to jam? And their roommate, Kevin, who had just moved in, I like barely knew. I just met him. Like, we all started jamming, and like it just became a weekly thing of just like, let's play music. And after a couple months, we were like, oh, we're writing songs. There's something here. And it didn't even really feel real until shows came back in the summer of 2021, and we played this show in front of like 400 people, our first show, and like the music was well received. We only had like 25 minutes of music at the time, but yeah, Small Paul's this rock band.
And you play keys for that? Or?
I play keys, yeah. Cool. But we're all writing the songs together. There's a lot of beautiful harmonies happening between Kevin, Chris, and Malcolm. And our full-length album comes out in July. We put out an EP last year, and going on tour in the fall.
So you probably know Freak Out Records too. So like, I
played Freak Out last year with Claudine and Small Paul.
Because that's where I met.
Playing with All Star Opera this year. They announced the Freak Out lineup tomorrow, so I can say we're playing with All Star Opera this year.
Oh hell yeah!
I like.
So what can you take away from that record deal thing? Not issue, I don't know, thing, and also being like a non-profit. Like, do you ever?
Well, they just became a non-profit, which is really cool. I think, because they're new as a non-profit, I don't have anything to take away from them as a non-profit, but I will say every year I've attended Freak Out Festival concert series, and the Seattle World Tour is a concert series. And so every time I go there, I'm just like, oh, this is so cool that you have this going on, or you have this going on, because, they take over Ballard. Yeah. Whereas we're trying to do like a cross city thing over a week. But I think they've done it for over a decade now.
That's a good point too.
And it's been really interesting to just see how they've continuously grown. Cause I think I've gone to like the last 5 or 6 Freak Out festivals.
Yeah. They're so much fun. Cause they always fall on my birthday too. Oh, so like it's fucking blast.
That's awesome.
So where's your guys' like venues that you're going to be part of for the World Tour?
This year we're doing Tuesday, June 6th, the Sunset, Wednesday, June 7th, Belltown Yacht Club, Thursday, June 8th, the Central Saloon, Friday, June 9th, Cafe Racer, and then Saturday, June 10th, Clock Out Lounge.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah, kind of making our way north to south.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So so your last album that you dropped with All Star Opera was 2021.
2017.
What? There's something on you have a single in 2021.
We have singles.
I got it.
Yeah, and that's go on with your question.
So what's the process of that, and like why the huge gap of time?
Well, I'm so like I truly like I'm doing all these different things, but like I'm so excited about the All Star Opera album that's to come. In 2017, our debut album, we wrote 10 songs. Those are the 10 songs we had. We put them out. I look back at it like with all love to like the music we made. I'll play a couple of those songs every now and then, but we just made 10 songs and we're like, here you go. We started this second album at the end of 2019. COVID hit, kind of slowed some things down. And through COVID, we really like found our sound. And that was the whole thing going into the second album, was like, we really wanted to define our sound. And through COVID and just even growing as musicians, humans, as a band, we've really come into a sound right now that feels true to us, and we're making like I have this SoundCloud with so many songs that like I just play when I get in the car because I love what we're making right
That's
now.
awesome.
And whereas we made 10 songs, put those out. That's all we had in 2017. Right now we have a SoundCloud playlist as of yesterday, added a new song to it yesterday, that has 57 tracks on it.
Damn.
And so the hope is that by the end of this summer, we'll choose our favorite like 12 to 16 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And of the because we're making like a song a week, or at least we have been for the like last 9 months. It's really like sped up this last year.
Heck yeah.
The hope is to just like not have to settle like we did for our first album, where it's like, this is all we have, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be a tough, especially in a 7-person band that's like a democracy and like
Yeah.
majority vote wins.
Yeah.
There's going to be some tough choices
For sure.
of like 60 plus songs of like, choose your favorite 12 to 16 and like let's have that be cohesive together. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like it is a true representation of like who we are as individuals and as a group,
Mm-hmm.
and where we've been, where we're at, and where we want to go. Love the sound. And yeah, it's like there's something, a little something for everyone. And like, you know, a lot of the songs that don't make the album will still come out as singles before or after, but yeah, we're going to start really releasing music August, September.
Hell yeah.
And when we started the process, we didn't know we were going to end up with like 60 songs. We thought like, oh, we'll make 20 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
But really where we're at is when we start releasing music in August, September, you're probably going to see a new release from Ultra Opera like every month or every 6 weeks for like the next 2 to 3 years.
Damn.
And the album will come out sometime next year or beginning of 2025, because there's like a whole album rollout process that we're invested in, with like videos and stuff. But yeah, I think consistency for artists is like so crucial, and that's what we set out to do, and we're getting so close to being able to just like really start sprinting with that.
Mm-hmm. So with booking other artists and stuff, what is like the importance of an artist to like get out of Seattle and tour?
Whether it's under like the umbrella of touring or just even getting out to go to Portland to play a show, is, you know, I've found on tour, like you'll pull up to a random city that you don't know much about, you don't know anyone there, but there happens to be people at that show, and they absolutely love what you're doing. And what I think what's really beautiful about getting out of Seattle to go play shows, whether it's touring or just a one-off show, is you have a chance to make a new first impression. I think naturally in any scene, not just Seattle, there's a lot of preconceived notions of like what people are doing, but maybe like people haven't really taken the time to understand what people are doing. And that I'm guilty of that. I think every human is guilty of preconceived notions.
Yeah.
It's just how our brains work. We try to like figure out the pattern of what's going on a metaphysical level. And I think touring, you can make so many new fans, you can make so many new first impressions. And also like some music is not meant for certain environments. Like there could be like an alternative rock band like that might do really well in like the Midwest or the South, but like is not meant for like an urban metropolis,
for sure,
you know. And that can go for any genre. And I think really what happens when you're touring is you're trying to find your people, you're trying to get in front of your people. You're not trying to get in front of, well, you might be trying to get in front of all the people, but like I think a healthy way to get out on the road is like we just want to get in front of our people, like the right people. And sometimes you don't know what your people are yet. Like you're just trying to get in front of people who really understand and enjoy what you're doing. And I don't think any artist can afford to have all their hopes in their hometown being the thing that breaks them.
Yeah.
You have to get out there.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
If you're waiting for Seattle to like break you into like an national star, like it's never going to happen. You got to get out there and really spread the word.
Yeah. Because even Macklemore like left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I was working with them before they blew up and after they blew up as like an intern. That's kind of how I started when I was going to school. You know, Trisha. Working in the, shout out Trisha. Working in the office and like seeing like just how they were moving. they were doing little tour runs all the time before like that big album, The Heist, came out. Like they were really getting out there. And I learned a lot from them, just like how to move independently.
Yeah.
And they got out there a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. So what do you, so you say you don't have like a, you're saying you haven't had a job for a while, or what do you do? What do you do? You just do art full time, or what is that like?
I do art full time, but my day job is most technically, I'm a talent buyer booker at Nectar Lounge and High Dive right now.
What does that mean for people who don't know?
A talent buyer is just a fancy word for someone who books shows. Yeah. And so I'm booking shows at Nectar Lounge and High Dive.
And that's in Fremont.
That's in Fremont. Yeah.
Cool.
And all love to that. And my bosses will probably see this video, but like, that's truly a day job for me. Like, even like booking for Saul, like, I love Saul. I love Saul's music. I love supporting him, but like all that stuff is really just like, day jobs, but not day job like I'm going to work at like retail. Like I used to work retail. Like it doesn't feel like that. I love that my day job is music adjacent, and it allows me to be a lot more passionate. But if like I said at the beginning, like if people come up to me, I'm going to talk about being a producer and musician, because the moment I clock out, I'm like beelining it to the studio to work on something, or a practice. Like if I'm not hanging out with my wife, like that's where my heart is at.
Yeah.
But
and what gives you inspiration? Because you're in 2 different bands, you're talent buyer.
Yeah. I really just love music. I love like the community that comes with music, the creative community, even just meeting people like yourself, or like I think one of my favorite events I have gone to in the last year was the Homegrown event.
Thank you,
and
man.
I'm not just plugging you because I'm on here, because it's March 31st. Y'all had the audacity to do an outdoor show.
We didn't tell anyone.
In like early spring. Doing an outdoor show in Seattle, and I'm like, this is sick. It's at this like epic mansion, McMansion thing.
Yes.
And it was raining at this outdoor show, but like the DIY grassroots of it, and how y'all persevered and like did everything in your power to make that a fun night. And there was 40 something people there who just danced in the rain or like stood under cover and like loved it. And you had like some touring bands with you
from
like,
Canada, man.
I actually like, I'm friends with one of the bands. What was not Vox Ray, what was the other
Body
band?
Wash.
Body Wash. I became friends with the drummer, and we're like exchanging like like we're doing some production stuff together.
That's awesome.
But I think events like that are so inspiring to me, of like just like,
and it was Space Cowboy theme too.
Space Cowboy theme. It like, you know what like alchemy is?
Like the wizard stuff?
Alchemy is like basically like creating something out of nothing.
Yes.
That's what music is to me.
Yeah.
Anytime I produce a beat, or like one of my bands makes a song, like it feels like we just like pulled something out of thin air and like, here you are.
Yeah.
And I also think like, whether it's the Seattle World Tour or Homegrown, like we're creating something out of nothing, and that's what really inspires me with music, is like we're creating our own opportunity. We're creating these platforms for people to be supported, to be seen, to be heard. And I don't know, like that to me is like so cool, so beautiful. And just like anytime you accomplish something like that with someone in the community, music community, especially artistic community, to me that's like the real networking. Like I'm down to go to an event, like a networking event, but like overall, like that can be just a lot of small talk. But until like we actually do something together, whether it's like I play your Homegrown show, or we play a show together, or we create something, or I just even like you put a post out, need some help moving, and I help you move it like one day, like until we accomplish something together, like I don't feel like community's really like locked in like that. But like, it can happen so quick in music, whereas I see a lot of other things, it seems like a bit more slower of a process. But like community and music and art can come together really quickly if you find a way to like really.
Music's one of the fastest way to make friends almost,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, what is some final advice you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
I think finding your voice is going to be the longest, or like the thing that's going to provide most longevity. I'm still a work in progress, forever a work in progress, a student, but it took a lot of like self-growth, and I think COVID helped like really sit my ass down and like figure out what that is, who I am, like truly am as an artist. And work on myself both as an artist and as a human, for me to push forward confidently, knowing my voice and who I am. And then I think also just like, it sounds so simple, but I'm trying to shoot like a Hail Mary long shot as many times a week as I can. And what I mean by that, it's like, maybe it's this festival, or maybe it's like, I want my song on this TV show, or like whatever. And it doesn't have to be just within music. It can be in life. Like, I'm trying to shoot as many long shots as I possibly can every week, because I know that like 98 or 99 out of 100 of those long shots don't hit. But the one that does, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing this. We're playing this, or we have this opportunity. And you know, you don't have that be your main game plan. Definitely put in the work, and like, you know, metaphorically speaking, like eat your dinner before you have dessert. I would say dessert is like the long shot, but like, don't be afraid to shoot that long shot and see what happens. I think sometimes people wait for things to come to them, and I think you have to, without any expectations, you just have to go out there and be like, hey, like, what if we did this together? Or like, we would love to play this, and just see what happens. Yeah.
And reach out to people. I feel like some people forget to reach out to like people that they know. And they just become strangers. That's something I've been working on.
I feel like Seattle's an interesting city compared to like, you've been to LA. You go to LA, you go to San Francisco, New York, wherever, Austin, Chicago, like people go out a lot. They get off their job at 5 o'clock and they're looking to go out. And I think it's partially because of the weather. That's like, I want to be outside. Whereas I think a lot of people in Seattle think about going home when their job is done. It's like, I'm going to go be inside because the weather's not that great. And I think that like permeates into this culture of like keeping to ourselves. And probably is where like the Seattle freeze comes from. That saying. And we really gotta lead by example as community members of just like reaching out, making connection physically, spiritually.
You could do this on like an iPhone, but I have a Google phone, so like anytime I'm listening to a song or just like something randomly pops into my head of like someone that I know that I haven't reached out to, I just say, hey Google, text blah blah blah, checking in on you. That's, you know,
that's
something
beautiful.
super. I did that on the way here to the studio this morning. Even, you know, I'll be like, listen to a song, or like remember somewhere that I walked with someone, and I'm like, oh, I haven't reached out to them for a while. You know, it's just super simple, and it takes like 5 seconds. You don't even have to type. You could be like, hey, Siri, or if I don't want one of our phones to go off, and just be like, checking in on you.
Talk to text type thing. That's amazing. I have a couple friends who will. I got to give a shout. This guy Abdi, he's a photographer, videographer, 2 doors down. That's his Instagram name. Over the years, he just like every couple weeks, a couple months, will be like, hey, send him peace and light your way, or like, and just like out of nowhere. And it's like, man, we've kicked it like 10 times in life. And you still like reach out in that way, and like that makes, and like it's kind of like that pay it forward. It makes me want to reach out to people too. And
because then I've been hearing people be like, oh shit, I just got over COVID or whatever, and like I'm like, fuck, I wonder if people have been reaching out or not. And like, just, you have no idea what people are going through. So
at all.
So
that's I got one more piece of advice. You just triggered it. You have no idea what people are going through. And when something doesn't go your way, especially in music and business and art, 99% of the time, it is not personal. You don't know what people are going through.
For sure.
Stop taking things personal. We all have so much going on. No one's more busy than another individual, like especially in music. Like you don't know what people are going through. I think that's good perspective to keep in mind.
For sure. So what is the easiest way for people to reach you and follow your bands as well?
At Seth from Above on Instagram. That's my producer handle. And for the Seattle World Tour, seattleworldtour.org. Come out to a show, say hello.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, connect with us.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's been the NAST podcast with
Seth McDonald, Seth from above.
And we did it.